Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away, there was a cat named Spinxy. Now, Spinxy was no ordinary cat. You see, when he was born, the first sound he made was not a meow, but a loud bark that echoed through the countryside. The farmer who found him in the barn was so surprised that he picked the little kitten up and exclaimed, "Holy cow, a talking cat! But this cat doesn't sound like a cat at all. That sounds like a dog." So the farmer took Spinx the cat home and raised him alongside his dog. And sure enough, Spinxy continued to bark instead of meowing. As Spinxy got older, the other animals on the farm noticed his unusual bark, and they started to tease him. They'd say things like, "Hey, Spinxy, can you herd some sheep for us?" Or, "Spinxy, why don't you chase your tail like a good little dog?" But Spinxy wasn't a dog, and he didn't want to do anything that a dog would do. He wanted to be a cat, but he couldn't figure out how. One day, Spinxy decided to run away from the farm and find his own adventure. He wandered through the forest, over hills and valleys, and finally came across a beautiful meadow filled with flowers. As he was taking in the beautiful view, he heard a voice that made him stop in his tracks. It was a cat's meow, and it sounded like music to his ears. He followed the sound to a nearby tree and saw the most beautiful cat he had ever seen. Her fur was as white as snow, and her eyes were green as emeralds. She was everything that Spinxy was not, and she was everything that Spinxy had ever dreamed of being. He wanted to talk to her, but he didn't know what to say. He thought about all the times that the other animals had teased him for sounding like a dog. What would they think if they heard him now? Would they laugh in his face, or tell him that he was a failure? But then he thought, why should I care what they think? This is my chance to be myself and finally meet another cat who understands what it's like to be different. So he took a deep breath and said, "Hello, my name is Spinxy, and I'm a cat." The beautiful cat looked at him for a moment, and then she did something that Spinxy never expected. She barked. She barked like a dog. And in that moment, Spinxy knew that he had found his true calling. Here was another animal who didn't fit in, who had been teased and ridiculed for being different. But instead of being ashamed of their unique qualities, they had embraced them. The two animals became best friends and spent their days exploring the meadow and playing with the other animals. No one on the farm had ever understood but here he was accepted for who he was. A talking cat who sounded like a dog. One day, as they were playing with the other animals, Spinxy and the beautiful white cat heard a familiar sound. It was the sound of a farmer calling his animals. It was the sound of home. And for a moment, Spinxy felt a pang of sadness. He had been through so much to find his true calling, but now that he had found it, he didn't want to leave. The beautiful white cat saw the look on Spinxy's face and nuzzled him. She understood how he felt because she, too, had been homesick for a while. But then she did something that made Spinxy's heart melt. She took his paw and placed it on her heart. "I may not understand where you're going," she said, "but if it makes you happy, then I'll support you." And in that moment, Spinxy the cat knew that he was the luckiest cat in the world. He had found a true friend who loved him for who he was. From that day on, Spinxy and the beautiful white cat stayed by each other's side. They helped each other through thick and thin, and they never forgot the day that they met. If you've enjoyed this silly story about Spinxy the cat, then make sure to stay tuned for more.